What's up, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, I've got my Apple TV, and this is the latest generation, and it's also the 4K, and I want to give you a little tour of it. I'm not going to go into all of the, the details of the Apple TV because I think you're familiar with a lot of them. But what I really want to show you are some of the things that I'm really surprised about, having had an Apple TV and Apple TVs in the past, and kind of the differences in the latest generation and some of the earlier ones. Because this is 4K, one of the biggest things that's different is obviously it supports 4K, but on the bottom here you can see that there is some slotting and some venting. I think because this is a more powerful processor that probably needs a little bit more cooling. So this is kind of the telltale sign that this is a 4K Apple TV. In contrast, if we look at the Apple TV latest generation that's not 4K, you can see here that the bottom is completely sealed, kind of like the original Apple TVs. If we take a quick look at the back, you can see there I've got a network cable, an HDMI cable, and then a power cable plugged into it. That is very much like every other Apple TV that's come before it. And in fact, the Apple TV looks very similar, kind of this monolithic block. Really, the only thing that's different is that it's a little bit bigger. It's actually, most notably, a little bit thicker, probably 50% thicker. So that's kind of another telltale sign. Now, let's take a look at the functionality. I want to show you what I'm probably most surprised and happy and unhappy with. Okay, so the very first thing, let's start at the very beginning here, is that I've got my Apple TV remote, as you can see, and my TV is off. The Apple TV is right below it, and that is off too. I'm just going to hit any button here. I'm going to hit menu, and the remote is like paired via Bluetooth or network to the Apple TV. Now there is an IR blaster on the outside of the remote here, and as what you can see here is that the TV turned on, and that's kind of interesting because what ends up happening here is I'm not totally sure how it's doing it, but it's something to do with the HDMI cable or its support. And what it is doing is it's controlling the power to the TV as well. Now, on the remote here, you can see there's a little TV button right here. And if I hold this down for 3 seconds, what I get is this ask here. Do you want to turn off any connected devices? And then you can just click up here on the trackpad. This top piece is trackpad, so I just clicked it. And now the whole thing goes off. So it's really actually quite cool that now by, just default, when I installed it, the Apple TV is controlling the TV somehow as well. So I really, really like that. You're really going to one remote. You don't have to even worry about a universal remote. I will also say here that we have a volume rocker right here. And so if I hit the volume up and down, as you can see here, it is controlling the volume on the TV itself. Again, I'm not sure how it learned that, especially on my cable remotes. I had to go through programming to find kind of the compatible IR blasting signals. But here it just found it and is great. So that is really, really awesome. Now, between turning the TV on and off and the volume, I'm already stupid happy about it, right? The other thing that you have here is a trackpad, and I'm going to get a little more into that, but this whole kind of top third of it is a trackpad. The trackpad can be adjusted from low, medium, and high sensitivity, and I have it on high sensitivity. What I will say is that it leaves something to be desired. And I will say that it takes a little while, and people always struggle with it. Having a little click wheel is kind of preferred by a lot of people, but I'm going to give you the tip here to using it appropriately. I think what a lot of people do is they flick. They kind of think it's like the screen on their iPhone and there's momentum, and there kind of is, but it gets really hard to control things. So what you want to do is you want to center your finger, put it on an edge, and deliberately drag it around. You don't want to flick, right? And while it does work, that will just kind of give you more fine control. And in that case, I slid and I hit movies. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to the App Store to just show you that there is an App Store on this latest version of the Apple TV. And this is kind of really important because, especially on the old Apple TVs, you couldn't even sideload things, right? So now you can add a number of apps. Some of these come default on Apple TVs like YouTube, but a lot of other ones like HBO Go or, in my case, the cord cutting apps like DirecTV Now and Sling TV weren't there. The other thing is you can hit this menu button to kind of go back to that main screen. And one of the things I want to show you on this menu button is you can see this little white circle around it. That is slightly raised over the other buttons, and it's kind of nice because it helps you figure out which button this is without looking down on it, without, accidentally pressing some of these other ones. And I will say it's not a huge difference. I actually wish there were a little like nip or something in the middle so it would feel different as I'm pressing on it, because I've hit the Siri button a number of times thinking it was the menu button, right? So even though it is a little different, I wish it were even a little bit more different. So that is kind of some of the differences on the remote. Now, one of the last things I want to show you on this remote that makes it a little different is the butt end of it there. And it might not be easy to see, but there is a lightning plug. This remote is rechargeable, so unlike the previous remotes, you don't have to put in one of those little watch batteries. You just plug it into a lightning cable, and in 20, 30 minutes or 40 minutes, it's fully charged, maybe even a little faster. And it does show you the charge if you go to settings and remote. So that's pretty cool too. You can recharge the remote. One of the last trackpad tricks I want to show you here is I've gone in the loop. I'm in my Sling TV here, and I've gone ahead and paused it. And you can actually move forward and backwards on the trackpad, and that's how you scrub. But I also want to show you that if you click on the edge, it's not going to be super easy to see here, but if I click on the edge here, what I get is a little jump back, which is probably what you're going to be familiar with on television remotes in terms of jumping ahead 10 seconds or so. And I don't know why the forward on mine doesn't work as well as the back does, but if I click on this edge on the back, as you might be able to see there, I keep jumping back 10 seconds. This is supposed to work forward too, but again, take it for what it's worth. And then the last couple things that I want to say about this is that when you're setting it up, it's actually really easy. If you have another OS device, you actually, I'm not sure if it has near field communication, but you actually hold the device close to it and it will grab a lot of the settings. Then the other thing I want to say here too is that if you'll notice here on my main screen how I've set up everything, when I got my second Apple TV and set it up, it asked me if I just wanted to mirror all these apps, and it set it up so it looks exactly the same. All the icons are in the same place, and so that's really, really nice. Now, the last thing I want to say about the Apple TV is value, and this is where, oh man, this is kind of a whole new thing for me. I will be really honest, I love the Apple ecosystem. I've been in it a really long time, and I've had a lot of Apple TVs, all right? And it's just really nice to be able to broadcast from my MacBook, mirror from my iPad, and all those things. But the Apple TVs being in the high $100 range, $170 to $200, $140 to $180, somewhere in there, the value proposition is dwindling. And this is where Apple, to me, without Steve Jobs, is quickly becoming IBM. What is the reason I would spend $180, despite the fact that I love the power on, single remote use, I like the volume control, automatically controlling the TV, but most of these apps like Sling, DirecTV Now, and pretty much everything you see down here is available on every other streaming device, including the Google Chromecast, the Apple Fire Stick, and Roku's, that are all a fraction of the price, right? Even the Amazon Prime Video service is available on all of those, or most of those. So the only thing I'm really getting above and beyond that, which is a really nice tight integration with the TV, even the Siri isn't really unique because Amazon Fire Stick has the Echo, and I'm not going to say the Alexa word because otherwise my Alexa will recognize it. I think is better than Siri. So the only thing I really get is being able to stream from my iPad or my iOS device in my iTunes. And I will also say there are apps that allow you to stream to some of those other devices from iOS devices. So you're even kind of shrinking the additional value that you get by going directly to the Apple TV. So would I buy an Apple TV? That's what it really comes down to. And let me tell you, let me put it this way. I have 6 Apple TVs in my house. 4 of them are now on eBay, okay? And they have been replaced by a combination of Roku's and Amazon Fire Sticks. The Amazon Fire Stick is probably my favorite on that. So the funny thing is, as somewhat of an Apple fanboy, I'm not really sure how Amazon ended up becoming my entertainment hub. So Apple should be pretty concerned about that. I would think if this were at $90 or $80, it would be probably worth it to me to get kind of the slick integration. but at its current price point, which is like $180 versus the Fire Stick, which is $39.99, which you can easily get at $25 if you look for discounts. Apple TV service is in trouble, big trouble. That's my opinion on it. Peter Von Panda out.